Alright, it is day 3, so we're back at the sort of halfway point of section 4, and we're just finishing the end of section 4, which I wasn't able to do last time. So I've got some new shoes again, new socks, and I'll see how we go. So today we're probably trying to aim to the end of this section, so finish up at Black Mountain and then do the next section, which will end up in Stromlo. So off we go. So this is the Belconnen skate park. I think we talked about this a bit last week. It's apparently something fairly substantial. I don't know, largest in the southern hemisphere maybe. It's one of Canberra's only claims to fame. You can see all the construction in Belconnen back there. And there's the lake back out that way. So it's not too cool this morning. It's about 10 degrees. A little bit of fog around, very nice. So just up there is Cyzac, big swimming and athletic centre. It seems that today there are a few other people doing the trail, and it seems that they're following me. So it should be interesting to sort of see who's faster today, but I'm hoping I can get away with it from them. I just like to walk by myself. So we're about to head up into Bruce and then over to the Australian Institute of Sport. So this part of the track here is literally running across someone's backyard. It's terribly marked. It's obviously not used very often, but yeah, if it wasn't for the map, I wouldn't know where I'm walking. That's 1k in, and still have my group of friends. They're spread out a little bit more now, but looks like I'm gonna either have to really pick up the pace, or I'm just gonna have to let them go around me and wait for a bit so I can walk by myself. So that's the view, just the top of that little ridge. So just down below is the University of Canberra, and out off into the distance you can actually see like the start of Mulligan's Flat and where we were at the very start of this. You can't really see the flat, you can just sort of see the hills that were behind it, but you get the point. There's some more skippies. It's funny actually how close they are to everyone's houses. Poor things. There's Black Mountain. Doesn't look that close. That's the halfway point. So just keep on going. It's actually really mild today, and I'm possibly a little bit overdressed, so might have to take off the jumper. So I didn't mention that I actually took a week off in between what was day 2 and what is today, day 3, because after day 2, when I got to Belconnen, the whole ball of my foot was blistered, to the extent that I was walking around like my feet had been bound. And I thought that it'd be probably better to avoid a scenario where I'm having blisters when I'm actually out on the trail, or at least starting the trail. So I took a week off in between, and feet feel okay today. I got some new shoes that are specifically for trail running. It's got a little bit of a harder track pad, and they've got a little bit more grip, so hopefully that actually makes a bit of a difference today. And I'm just going to be a little bit more careful with it and make sure that I'm taking care of my feet and taking a few extra breaks just to make sure that I don't do damage, because I really want to be able to get out again next weekend. So see how we go. Could not care about me in the slightest. It's too nice a day to worry about some random doing a bushwalk. So this is Hayden Drive. So we've just popped out up there from Bruce. So just sort of behind those trees there is the Cavalry Hospital. Up this way where we're heading is the Canberra Institute of Technology, sort of like a TAFE or and then behind that is the AIS, which is where we're heading next. So making pretty good time, doing about 6 k's an hour. We're about 3 k's in, so 3.5. But looks like the track is going to be fairly cementy for the next little bit, so just going to take it easy, because it's funny, after you walk on a hard surface all day long, you really start to feel it, that you find aches that you didn't know you had. Let's see if this guy actually wants to move. Ooh, 2 of them. It's the funny thing, whereas right next to the CIT, I don't know if you can hear it, there's a highway just off to my right. So it's fairly close to civilization, but yet the animals are still right there. So that's the back of the AIS. I just realised how stupid this is. Even though this is the actual way the trail's marked out, it's just been laid this way just so that you get a impromptu tour of the Institute of Sport, rather than sort of picking the actual most direct route. It's literally, if I'd kept walking the way I was, I would have ended up where I'm going to pop out, but I'm going up, around and back to where I pretty much just was. So it's a bit frustrating. It's a bit of another one of the designed to see the Canberra landmarks type of decisions, but I guess that's what the trail's about, and I do want to do it properly as much as I can, so we're going to do it. So anyway, it looks like that's the athletics track. You can see the lights from Canberra Stadium in the background there. So I think we're actually going to probably walk past it, so I'll give you a closer view when we get there. So there you go, there's GIO Stadium, Canberra Stadium. So just to illustrate how silly this route is at this point, we're actually going to turn up here and head back up to Belconnen. Not too far, but a little way, which is literally the complete opposite direction of where we're heading today, but it's just so that we can walk past the front of the AIS proper, and then we're going to loop back around and end up back over here. Just very, very strange mapping. If I did this again, I would definitely be missing this part. It's just I've been to the AIS, don't need to see it again, but for the sake of today, we will do it. So there it is. That's the it's sort of a multi-use space. It used to be where the basketball team was years and years ago. I think they still play women's basketball there. Tend to have music events there sometimes. I don't know, I think that sometimes you get like the Rock of Stedford used to be there years and years ago, showing my age. But anyway, boy, I'm glad we went past this. So there we go. There is the visitor centre, which we will not be going into. This is so silly. So there's the Aquatic and Fitness Centre, and, and we're literally just going around the back now, so good times. I don't know what that is. I think it's maybe soccer or field hockey. So stupid. You can see the lights of the stadium back there, which is where we were 10 minutes ago. It's just like, it's just weaved through the entire complex. So unless you really wanted to go in and see either the visitor centre or, you know, you wanted to perhaps stop and actually have a bit of a proper wander through, I really recommend you just give this a miss. It doesn't add much looking at the back of buildings and forklifts. Ooh, look, a pallet. Fantastic. Alright, looks like we're getting back to where we originally were, so hopefully we can keep this going. So there we go, there's the back of the AIS, and now we're back on to the track. So we're running pretty much parallel with Belconnen Way, which is the major connecting road between the city and Belconnen. So that's what that extra road noise is, but at least we're not behind buildings anymore. So this is the back of O'Connor Ridge. So actually I was completely wrong about that road before. That was actually Gungahlin Drive. But it was still noisy, so I was right about that at least. So this track, we used to go and watch the rugby up at GIO Stadium when I was younger, and then I used to live back in O'Connor, and we used to walk down the back of this at night with everybody else back to where the cars, you could often park down the end here. So yeah, it's a bit of a familiar trail actually for me, but I haven't done it for years, so it's really quite nice through here. It's actually very peaceful. Had some kookaburras going just before, so lovely. That's the back of Drandra Street. I have a feeling that when I was a kid there used to be a horse here which I used to feed, which is bizarre because we're only about 3 k's from the centre of town here, but I swear that this was where I used to feed this horse. Anyway, that's the back of Drandra Street, which is O'Connor. So pretty much just behind those trees there, which hopefully we'll get to see in a second, is Black Mountain. So we're actually getting pretty close now. I think we're probably maybe 2 k's, 3 k's from the base, and it's about 2 k's, 1.5 k's up, depending on which way you go. And you would be able to see it, but there's just more trees. Right, just crossed over MacArthur and heading back up into the bush. So that's still Drandra there. So we're heading up this way. A little lean-to up here, so if you want to camp, I guess you can do that. That is Belconnen Way just up there. So if I say it long enough, I'll get it right one of these times. So we're sort of running parallel to Drandra and Belconnen Way. We're just going to duck under Belconnen Way up here and start heading up the hill. It's sort of funny, it's just like a couple of k's from where I grew up, and I never even knew there were trails through here. It's one of the advantages of Canberra being the bush capital. It has little spots you can go walking pretty much everywhere, so this is actually not too bad, especially if you live just down there. It's not a bad little trail. Alright, so we're just ducking underneath Belconnen Way here, and it's all uphill from here. think that's the Actu substation, which is the official end point of stage 4. So it yeah, it's actually a pretty decent extra bit of a walk from Belconnen. So what are we at now? It's about 8.5 k's. So yeah, it's glad I didn't do it last time. I don't think I would have made that, but it's a good start to today, and it should round out today at about 30 k's once we get to Stromlo. So there you go, up ahead, it's Telstra Tower, Black Mountain Tower, Telecom Tower, depending on how old you are. Alright, the climb begins. Alright, so we just sort of did a bit of a dog leg and ended up in the car park for the substation. And you start heading up this other road. So there are heaps of trails that sort of end up at the top, but this is the trail one, so this is the one we're doing. So it's looking bigger and bigger as we get closer. So turning this way apparently. Alright, 900 metres to the top. It's a bit confusing because this bit is where the bike and the walking trail diverge. So I think that's the bike trail that way, which looks pretty rough, but this is the walking trail definitely, so this is the way I'm going. Whew. It's probably every bit as steep as Mount Ainslie, I reckon. You can sort of get a view of the tower from up there, but after doing the other k's to get here and carrying all this water and stuff on my back, I'm feeling it. I don't know if that's capturing the angle, but this is very steep. That's the top. So there we go, there's the little compass. So that last section was pretty uphill, pretty steep, and I wasn't paying attention to my food intake, so I ended up needing to stop and just grabbing something really quick. Yeah, so that's the tower. I've been meaning to climb Black Mountain for a long time now. I was going to do it last summer, but there were a few bushfires around, so I thought better not. But yeah, that's starting to complete my tour of Canberra's mountains. So I think I've got to head down there, but I'm just going to take a quick water break and yeah, get myself situated. Alright, we're heading down. So I was wrong about that other path. This is another occasion where the signposts and everything else on this trail are just a little bit all jumbled up and a bit insufficient if you're doing it just by that. So I've got the map and it seems to say to go down here. So that's the way we're gonna go, and yeah, just make our way down. It's really quite an impressive structure. See, that's what we've got over Toronto, Sydney, Seattle, Auckland. We build our towers on the top of a hill. See, that way it's taller. Thinking. So I've done it again. I ended up walking up that way before I realised that's actually back down here. So there's just a lot of converging tracks, and they've actually marked a lot of them out for the trail on the map. And unfortunately, because it's a bike and walking section and they've got them both marked, the right path isn't really that obvious all the time. So I just need to be a little bit more aware of what I'm doing, I think. But I'm pretty confident that I'm on the right one now because I'm heading the right direction. So worst case, I'll just bush bash down the side of the hill and I'll get to where I'm going. So there you go, that's a view to Canberra South. You can sort of see the Tuggeranong Parkway there. So the suburb off to the right is Coombs and Wright, which is sort of the end point for today. So that's where I live now, but I've always wanted to walk this section between the Arboretum and Wright, so that'll be fun too. You can see the lake just down there, and off in the distance, should be able to see Parliament, which is where we started. Just trying to get my bearings. Actually, you might be just obscured by. Yeah, I don't think you can quite see it from this angle, but yeah, another Canberra hill I never looked to climb up properly, but was not a bad little walk. Be nice if it was a little bit more of a switchback rather than straight up and down, but it's alright, it's all part of the fun. So I think this is part of my confusion. It's the actual track up here loops around just below the top of the hill, and then it starts to go back down on the other side. But I think because you got a 2D map, you can't really appreciate all the different bits and which way you're meant to go, which section. So it'd be good if they could do like a guided navigation for it. But anyway, I think as long as I haven't seen the trail before, we're okay. Alright, well, as you can see, that's actually the way we came up. So you do a full circuit and then you come down this other side, which is actually heading back out towards sort of the Belconnen way. So yeah, very confusing even section of the track. I've got to be really careful here because it's super steep, so rather not twist an ankle or go for a fall. Alright, well, I'm pretty much still coming down the mountain. It's the trails are just an absolute mess up there. It's honestly, if you didn't have the smartphone app with you, I think you could get turned around quite a bit. Even with it, I was still second guessing myself at every turn. I just had to have a quick stop and tape my feet up. My balls on my feet were blistering up again. My heels are still a bit sore. I'm gonna give it another couple of kilometers and see whether or not they're a bit better once we get down onto the flat a bit more. But yeah, balls on my feet are pretty torn up and still just about halfway, I reckon. So yeah, it's not ideal, so we have to see how we go today. It might be one of those ones we have to call early again if I can't walk, but it seems that I can normally get 30 kilometers on a mix of sort of trail and asphalt, so fingers crossed we just make it. So that was the first sort of proper time I've been off my feet since I started this morning, so it's probably not too bad. But yeah, the tape and a little blister pack seems to have made a pretty big difference so far. It's feels a lot better, and the little bit of extra padding in there makes me feel like I'm not sliding around as much in the shoes. So pretty good. So we've actually done a bit of a big loop, and also the road sort of followed around the base of the mountain, but we're going to end up actually going back underneath Gungahlin Drive again, which, you know, we could have probably just walked along it, but no, look, I'm glad we went the way we did. I just got to check where I am, because I think I'm off trail again. I am, and we go this way. At least it's signposted. That's just my error. We're still walking along the base of Black Mountain now. So over sort of that way is Gungahlin Drive. You can sort of hear it. I think it's just sort of over that ridge. But we're just sort of walking parallel to it, which is fine. It's quite nice through here. Yeah, just had to take my feet up, which was actually makes a big difference. These shoes are better than the ones I was using, but I think, you know, once you're sort of doing a full day, and it doesn't really matter what you're sort of having, you're gonna get friction points, and especially if you're going up and down steep, it's where your feet are moving around a lot in the shoe. So but that's all right. This seems to be a pretty decent solution, and actually my biggest complaint right now is my knee. I think I tweaked it a little bit as I was coming down that really steep bit on the hill, so just have to keep an eye on that. But I think as long as I sort of stay warm and keep moving, I should be all right. I've got some ibuprofen with me if I really needed it. All right, there is Gungahlin Drive again. So actually, that could be the parkway. Either way, we're going underneath it, and then we're going out the other side, and we shouldn't be too far away from the Arboretum, which is the next stop. So you can see Black Mountain Tower just up there. So we've come full circle and we're right on the other side now. So this is trail, actually, except for the track that went up to the top of Black Mountain. There's really been very few people. I didn't actually show it, but I caught up with those people that were behind me at the start of the day. I just passed them as I was going down the hill, and they were coming up, so put a bit of distance in between. So it's not until I actually got out into this grassland bit that I realised where I actually was. So this road here goes to Jamison and Belconnen, and I essentially thought I was walking down the front and I was going to end up over there. What I did is I came down there and walked around, so that's right. It helps when you don't have trees all over in your way, but just as well I had a map. I'm obviously terrible at navigation. As you can see, we're actually walking back towards the tower again now. Just another quirk of this leg of the trail is that it sort of loops around and goes through bits and up other bits. So yeah, it's a little annoying, but apparently there was a little walking track that I could have taken. Didn't see a sign as I was walking along that other section, so you could have cut sort of through this bit. Anyway, didn't see it. So there we are, that's the cork forest. So they actually still harvest the cork off this occasionally, from what I remember. But yeah, they actually cut the bark off, and that makes cork. So this is one of those Canberra sections that most people don't go to. There was an article a few weeks back in the paper, and suddenly everybody decided that they were going to come here, but it looks pretty quiet today. It'd be peaceful if it wasn't right next to the highway. So you can actually see where the bark on these ones has been cut away, and you can see the regrowth. So that's actually where they harvest it. A couple of years ago when I came out here, I remember reading something about it, and there's very few people in the world that sort of had the capacity to do it properly without damaging the tree. So it's one of those dying art forms, I think. But yeah, there you go. So there we go, just emerging from the cork forest, and make our way over. That's the start of the Arboretum, just up there. So this is the proper start of the Arboretum right here, and this was all burnt during the 2003 bushfires. So this all used to be pine plantation and a few other bits and pieces, but yeah, so it's all now been replanted with different types of plants and different trees, and it's become quite a nice little recreational area for families. Up on the other side I'll show you, there's a reception area, cafe and restaurant and stuff, so people have weddings. We had a corporate function up here. So yes, right next to the highway though, this bit, so but once you get up the top it's really beautiful. Great views out of the city as well. So that's where we came from. So as you can sort of see, there's the lake just down there. That mountain just on the edge, so you can just see it, is Mount Ainslie. So keep going up this bit. It's a bit hilly here as well actually, so my legs are starting to tire a bit. I'm about 20 k's in, I judge. So not too far to go, but this is sort of the point where everything starts to hurt for me. So as you can probably hear, it is pretty windy up here. Always seems to be windy until the trees sort of grow up a little bit. It's all going to stay a bit like that, but those little terraces that they've got there are actually the walking trail to get to the top. So they sort of do it as a bit of a switchback. So we're going to go just down here to get onto the path, and then we're going to make our way up there. So what I thought was switchbacks up and down the terraces is actually just somebody with a big asphalt budget just laying out the most indirect route to the top. That's alright. So there you go. That's the terraces. You can see there's Black Mountain again, ever present. Seems like we've actually made a fair bit of distance since then, so that's good. Alright, let's finish this off.
There we go. That's the top of the arboretum, the function room. It's another little function room over here. Just look at the grass. So there we go, that's the view again. So we're just going to start heading over this way now, which is going to end us over at Stromlo. Okay, so there's another example of really bad signage. That one sign is saying go down that way. The electronic map is saying go this way. This looks more right to me, so this is where I'm going to go. End of the day, as long as I get over there, happy days. So that's Stromlo Dam just there. That's essentially what allows us to have a lake. If you have a look at the maps online, they actually sort of say go down underneath the highway there and across the dam, and then you go up and along. I think that that's an outdated version now. There were some sort of works going on over near the Coombs side which didn't allow people to walk through, and I think that that was the alternate route. But now that that's sort of all been settled, I think that the app's at least been updated to sort of send people this way. So I think maybe they need to go back and actually change some of the signage. But yeah, if you follow the app, you should be right. Alright, so that's Demon Prospect just over there. That's Wright and Coombs over there, and sort of just in the middle, that little bit without any houses on, that's sort of where the Stromlo bike park is, which is the official end for today. So these are all fairly new suburbs, sort of last 10 years. There's going to be a whole bunch of them coming out into this Molonglo Valley area, but they're sort of all stretching across that way. So you can see over there, that's Woden, where that big white tower is. It's another one of the town centres. And then sort of over those hills over there is the Tuggeranong Town Centre, which is the end point for next week's hike. So there we go. So this is probably my favourite bit of the trail today, just because there's just no one else around. It's you get the occasional bike rider on this sort of a parallel track there, but yeah, other than that, it's just nice and peaceful. You just get to walk by yourself. So there are absolutely no sign markings out here. It's they've clearly not gone and re-signposted since the app was updated. So I think at the end of the day, either way is going to get you there. You just got to make sure that you're following one or the other. If you're trying to follow both, you're going to get yourself twisted up. So I think it's probably about 8 k's to finish the day now. So feet, even though they're all sort of wrapped up, are getting a bit sore at this point. So it's, you know, is what it is. But everything else is pretty good. It's had a decent pace throughout most of the day. I've sort of been getting between sort of 5 and 6 depending on which bit I'm doing. The Black Mountain bit obviously was a lot slower, but that's to be expected. So this is still actually the Arboretum here, so you can sort of see that they just plant a whole bunch of different species of trees, and the idea is that this will be sort of, you know, nice leisure area. It already is, but you know, as the trees grow up, it'll sort of get more and more interesting. So yeah, it's again another part I've always been meaning to sort of walk from either here to home or home to here. So it's nice to be able to sort of do that as part of this bigger trek. So yeah. All right, there's Black Mountain, very far off in the distance now, and we're just gonna follow this fire trail through the pine trees, and we're getting pretty close now. It's although I've never sort of walked this area, the other side of it is where I commute every day to work, so it's nice and familiar. all the berries have been sprayed, unfortunately. I know they're a weed, but they're actually kind of nice to be able to just eat something when you're out in the middle of everything. Just turned up towards the Molonglo Valley, so the highway's sort of out there, so it's doesn't look like too many people come down here. Looks like maybe a couple horses. Yeah, really nice. It's nice and quiet, but yeah, not too far now, so it's so there we go. This is officially the back of Coombs now. So, oh, see what happens. So that river, I think, is the Murrumbidgee. It stinks. It's really stagnant around here, and there's a whole bunch of debris. And actually, that log is like right over the track there, so you wouldn't want to come down there fast on a bike if you weren't looking what you're doing, because you could impale yourself on it. But looks like the crossing was in fact open, so we're just going to walk up the back of Coombs here, and yeah, really close to home now, so not much further to go. So I think this is what they mean by closed. I'm just going to go along the fence a little bit. I'm pretty sure it opens up a little bit further on, but yeah, it's a little annoying. I guess the sign was right. So lacking the desire to really walk through a whole bunch of tall grass, I opted for the climb into the construction site. So I just went over the top. We're meant to be going this way anyway, so I'm gonna just follow this track along. It might mean I have to go back over a fence again, but it's all part of the fun. Given how knocked over the fence is here, it probably would have been easier to make it down here and try it, but that's alright. We're here now. That fence looks a hell of a lot easier to climb, so I'll just wait till it sort of levels out a little bit, and I'll get up to the top there. No fences, just how I like it. So, looks like they're just putting in a new bike track, which will be the way things go moving forward. Actually, there's an existing bike track here, so I might just keep going this way. Looks like the fences just keep going that way, so I think I'm in the clear now. So this is sort of the what is it, the north east side of Coombs, and that's sort of part of the new section of Western Creek. So they got me trapped again, so I had to go back over the fence. So at least they had a little boulder next to it, it made it a lot easier to get up. But I'm in the free world now, so I think for the sake of ease, I won't try and get back down there again. I'll just walk along here parallel. Just shows if you want to actually get where you're going, don't follow the map. So this bit's actually just been recently opened itself. That's the ESA, Emergency Services, and ACT government rangers and stuff like that. They have a depot there. That's still Coombs. As you can see, it's all new construction out here. So just walking around, and we're gonna go underneath the bridge over there, go up the other side. So probably about 3 k's left. So there you go, there's Black Mountain. So quite a way we've come. to hang the shoes up today. It's been a pretty decent sort of walk. But yeah, not too far to go. It just this last bit, because it's so familiar, it actually makes it worse because I just know how much further it is. So just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So we just passed under John Gordon Drive, so we're now on the right side of the right side of the road, I guess. But we're in Wright, the suburb now. So this bit, when I normally do like a 5k run from home, I sort of come down this bit that we're going to be walking up, come up here and then run back up John Gordon Drive. So unfortunately very familiar. So these are some of the new wetlands that the ACT government's put in. So this all just used to be storm drains, concrete storm drains. A couple of years back, and I spent a fair bit of money, I would have thought, to dig all that up and sort of build these ponds with some vegetation around it. So that's nice. A few little seating areas. You can sit there, listen to the road noise. Beautiful. Up there is Mount Stromlo. So that's where the ANU observatory is. So there's a big space telescopes and that kind of thing. Mercifully we don't actually climb that one, because my legs couldn't take it right now. But yeah, over on the left is Holder, and then further up is Duffy. So that's the back of Wright there. This is Cotter Road. It's running up here. So I seem to have found all the sign markers again, which I guess makes sense because this part was never really under construction. Certainly not recently. Yeah, so if you follow the map that's on the web, up until I guess September this year, according to that sign, it should be right. After that, the app's probably fine. So a kilometre and a half, I would estimate. So we're very, very close. So this is the southern point of Wright. So that was all pine forest as well until the bushfires, and then after that there was obviously nothing left, so they built on it. So nearly there. Keep saying nearly there, but we really are nearly there. Feet are pretty torn up. I'm pretty sure I have a blister that burst, which is giving me a bit of pain. It's also really gross. Apologies. Yeah, look, not a bad trek today. So I'm not actually going to go into the bike track area. It's literally sort of a couple meters in, couple meters back out again. I'm just going to walk home instead. The starting point for next week will be sort of wherever I finish off, but there's not really much to see at the bike area. If you're on a bike, it's fine, but yeah, so I'll finish at the top corner of Wright, walk home, and that'll be it. Alright, that's me done for the day. So you can see that's Black Mountain way out there now. Belconnen is way over the top of those little hills over there. That's the little bike area in there, the Stromlo Forest Park, whatever they are. It's like I said, not going to bother going in there. So I'm going to start my walk next week from just up here, but and then sort of continue off down into Tuggeranong. But that's it. So that's 30 k's. It's a pretty decent effort, and I'm going to go and sit in a bath. See you next week.